All right, well, Toby, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're getting ready to get out of town. The new head coach of the Texas Stars. I guess, let me just start here. How has this summer been for you? Probably a bit of a whirlwind?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Obviously, we started summer earlier than we wanted, and then just getting into the flow of summer and doing all the kids' events, graduation for my oldest with high school.
Nice.
And then just got a call one morning, just warning me that, hey, like, Dallas is requesting permission to talk to you, and that kind of changed everything. And then from there, it was just really quick turnaround, and suddenly I'm the head coach of the Texas Stars. So now we're dealing with that, and it's a good problem to have for sure. But it's a lot of moving parts right now for the family and I.
Yeah, like you said, the summer started a little bit earlier than you guys probably had planned. But isn't it crazy how something like this happens and suddenly there's not enough time left in the summer?
Yep.
So I guess just you were the skills coach for the Colorado Avalanche for the last couple of seasons, but before that, you were an assistant coach at the AHL level.
Yep.
You played professionally for about 15 years. At what point for you in all of that did this kind of become a goal for you, or was this a goal for you? Have you just been kind of, how has this all unfolded for you since your playing days?
Yeah, great question. There wasn't a point this summer where I was like, I have to be a head coach next year. Like that certainly was not on my bingo card for this summer.
Yeah.
There was openings available, and I wasn't actively putting my name out there. I wasn't requesting permission from Chris McFarland or anyone. Can I go be a head coach somewhere? Mm-hmm. But I knew in the back of my mind that with the two positions that were available with the Avs, that became available over time, and just wasn't really a fit, that I had to go out and get some experience, to try to move my way into the NHL coaching circle, like the actual behind the bench coaching circle.
Yeah.
I knew I had to go get some reps at the AHL and try to be a head coach. So when this opportunity came along, there was no way I was going to pass it up.
Yeah, I mean it's. I've talked about it with folks before, and I think you and I maybe even talked about that the AHL maybe doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. The skill level and the talent from coaches to, I mean, even equipment guys and trainers. Like there's some really highly coveted positions. The one that you ended up in, like, is this something that you, not necessarily with Texas or whoever, but is this something that you've been eyeing, since your playing days? We talk to guys who say they can identify, players, teammates who they think could be coaches one day. Is this something that you always felt was in you?
Absolutely, yeah. I always felt I had the potential to be a head coach. At some point, at some level, I knew I had it in me to do that. I had a coach's mentality as a player, especially at the end, or mostly at the end, when you're entering the twilight of your career, you start to look elsewhere and kind of say, well, what skills do I have that I could pass on to the next generation of stars in the league? So that's when going from the NHL back to the AHL for my final 2 seasons really helped me kind of become a mentor and figure out my path, what it's going to take to. Willie Desjardins was the coach in Texas at the time, and trying to figure out what he did or some of the things that he was doing behind the scenes to have a successful team. We ended up winning the Calder Cup with him at the helm, so. Yeah. He was a good mentor, and then obviously the next season I'm working with Jared Bednar. So like I got pretty fortunate with the people I've had as mentors, and been able to learn from some really good guys and good hockey minds. But for sure, it's something that I've had my eye on for a long time. And of course, like when my playing days stopped there in Texas, my first call was to Scott White. It was, do you have any openings out? At that time, they were 2-coach team. They needed someone with more experience, and there wasn't even a job available if I remember correctly. So. But I just was trying to get on his radar because obviously would have loved to just keep the family in Austin and make that transition.
Yeah.
But, obviously it didn't work out. But so it's funny how things come full circle though, and now I'm back with the organization that I finished with.
No kidding. Well, so you used a couple words that you said mentorship and just really help you pass stuff on.
Yep.
Development, is that what you say your passion is now?
Yeah, it's been that for quite a few years now in the hockey world. I mean, like I mentioned, the last couple of years playing. Was helping guys like Riley Smith was around, Jamie Alexiak, like a lot of guys that went on to have had good Cody Eakin, good NHL careers, were the guys that were coming up through the system in Texas, and those are the guys I was really focusing on, just trying to as much as I could with the other leaders that they're still there, we're still there, trying to get those guys to do things the right way, and they're to their credit very receptive and helped us win the championship. Yeah. So, but beyond that, then becoming an AHL assistant coach, like your main job obviously is development. For me, it was development of forwards, but obviously helping with the D where possible, but development of the forwards. So that's been my focus for years. And then being the skills coach here with the Avs for 2 years, like you're just trying to find find those few inches, find the little 1%, 2% gains you can give these guys to try to help them in the games. Obviously, you work with some guys more than others.
Yeah.
And with me, it was a lot of times it was the injured guys. But you're just trying to find ways to make them more comfortable on the ice and make them better. And so when the games come around at the high speed that they play, they're ready for it.
So I won't lie to you. I've talked to some of my like real hockey nerd friends about you because I've watched the way that you work with some of those guys, and I think the way you just put it was excellent. You're just trying to find those extra couple inches. Throwing guys bad passes or passes that are a bit off the ice or rimming them around the wall, and just those little tiny reps. How much fun was that for you to get to work on those tiny little things, or was it tedious at times working on a sauce pass 2 inches off the ice, 2 inches off the ice? What was that like getting to work on it from that perspective?
I loved it. Every day was a new challenge. I mean, I got to work with guys and kind of depending on who was going to come to me at the end of the practice, obviously would change things. But I had drills in my head always ready, so no matter who came, I had something ready for them. But then especially with the injured guys, like when I would have a guy and I knew I'd have him for an extended period of time, like I would have a plan in place based on the player. Like Val's probably going to do different drills than Devontae's if he's with me. Like it's just different positions, different skill sets you're trying to work on, and things in their game that they're trying to work on, they'll often come to me and say, I want to work on rims. I'm having troubles with the rims. Landy's a good example. Like when he was coming back, he wanted to do a lot of rims. He wanted to do wall work, just get that back and get comfortable. So so it was fun for me, though, being able to mix it up every day. No 2 days ever looked alike. Yeah. And I had fun. Like, I got, you get sore elbows, sore forearms from saucing a million passes at the same time. But it was a pleasure.
And I know you and I have talked about this before, but not every NHL team or organization has a position like that. How important, now having been in that role yourself and now moving into a head coaching role, how important do you see having someone who can work on those little things? And like I said, I love the way you put that, helping each player get those extra couple inches. How big is that in today's game?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, guys want it. They a lot of them have them in the summer. They're on, they hire guys to come out on the ice with them and work on different parts of their game. And I know the numbers it seems like they're kind of picking up in the NHL. More and more teams are hiring them full time. But a lot of teams that don't have them on full time, they still have someone around that can come and help out in the community. So that they're getting their reps. But I do think it's important to get that individual work, because the practices, it's a lot of systems. It's a lot of puck touches, but it's really they're kind of scripted. Like your route down the ice, you're getting the pass here, you're coming down the ice, you're going to cut to the middle, you're going to shoot it. Like it's really scripted. You can almost do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
When you get a skills coach, that's doing different drills, like a lot of times they can apply pressure, make you think quick, have different, cone setups and things that can keep them on their toes a little bit more than they're going to get in an average practice.
Well, I remember I'd see guys that would be working with you guys, whether it be they're coming back from injury, and they'd get frustrated at stuff.
Yeah.
To your point, guys don't get frustrated running through your normal warm-up drills and stuff like that in practice. So, just that little bit of nuance. I always found it fascinating just to watch what you were working on with guys. You want to go back to Jared Bednar, because you worked behind the bench with him at the American League level, now work with him here. How much have you been able to take away from what Jared does day to day that you're applying going forward, or just not even going forward, just day to day? Yeah,
I've learned a ton from Jared. Obviously, like being around him for 2 years in the Columbus organization in the minors, and then 2 years here with the Avs. Learned a ton from him. Fortunately, I'm a pretty observant person. Like I'm always kind of taking mental notes.
Yeah.
So just watching the way he goes about his business, his preparation, his video sessions, and just kind of watching all that, you definitely pick up a lot from him. And fortunate to have worked with him for all that time, and great mentor and good friend. Yeah,
I mean, I have to imagine it's important to have those types of people that you can lean on and learn from, given how, like you said, competitive of a space all of this is. No, like just needing to have those resources.
Yep, it's huge. You gotta Are you talking the resources for the videos and stuff?
Well, no, I mean just like having someone like Jared who you can learn from, talk to.
Yep.
Learn from video.
Yep. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, but he's huge to lean on. I'm sure if I'm in a pinch one day and I've got a question, I'm sure he'll help me out. But obviously, working in different organizations, we'll have to tread those waters. But Jared, he's taught me a lot already. And the more contact you have with these guys, like. The older I get, the more my web of people that have influenced me continues to grow, and people move up into different positions.
Yeah.
You saw with Danny Heinold back in the NHL, Schneekloth back in the NHL, or up to the NHL. Like those things just it kind of spread their wings, and your web grows larger and larger. And it obviously, as you get older, you get a lot more of those people around, and you can lean on them. pick their brain, get on the phone, text them, whatever it is. So it's a good tool to have
Get
in the
those
back
extra
pocket.
couple inches.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I won't keep you too much longer here, but I guess I just want to know, Toby, for you, what is kind of, you mentioned earlier, like you want to get back behind an NHL bench someday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, the ultimate goal for everyone is to get to the highest level of hockey and have, success at that level. So I'm no different. I want to get there. But I'm not looking past the job that I just got. Like, I know that it's going to take time, and I'm going to, I'll have my bumps and bruises along the way, especially as a first-year head coach at the pro level. There's going to be some bumps and bruises. So I'm, just looking to go in there, put in my time, learn as much as I can from Glenn Gulletson and the whole crew in Dallas that have been there, before, that have worked with a team that we're now taking over. So I'm just going to be observant and putting my time in and try to win as many games as I can while I develop these guys to the best of my ability.
Yeah. So I was just about to say, what are you most looking forward to this season? But probably that, eh?
Yeah, it's just getting like Max Portunis is the assistant coach. Travis Morin is the other assistant coach. One was the captain when we won the Calder Cup. The other one was the playoff MVP, league MVP, leading scorer. Like, so both of those guys and I, like, we have a history together. Our families have been, stayed in touch, been close to each other. So I'm really excited to get back with them behind the bench and just kind of pick their brains on what worked last year. They had a successful season, did a great job with development again. So they've, been there for several years and they keep spitting out these good players up to Dallas. So they're obviously doing something right there. And I'm looking forward to getting back with them and kind of seeing how far we can go this year and just seeing what kind of impact we can have on the development side.
Yeah, and then I think this is the last one I got for you, unless you say something super interesting that I just can't help myself. What can you take from what you've done in the last 2 years that has been, I think, different from what you were doing in coaching before, and how is that going to maybe shape what you're doing next? Again, with this role that, like you said, more teams are starting to adopt it, but you and the Colorado Avalanche were kind of at the forefront of it.
Yeah, I think there's, what I take away from it is there's always work to be done, and everyone knows that with coaching.
Yeah.
The good coaches will say there's always something you can be doing. And in my role, like, there was quite a few different boxes that I was trying to check as far as, like, looking at skating, doing skill development, doing stuff before work, doing rehab skates, visiting the Colorado Eagles, getting on the ice with them. So there was always, like, so much that I could be doing. Video work was a big one too, because of my background with AHL assistant coaching. Like, I had a history with the X's and O's and being able to help guys with that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I take away is, like, there's so much you can do that you've got to be ready to make an impact with every player on the team. That said, you also have to find that work-life balance so that you don't get fried out by Christmas. Like, you've got to put the time in, like, have a structure, have a structured schedule as much as you can. Put the time in with the players, get to know them on an individual level, try to have the biggest impact on them that you can so that they can get to the NHL, and be ready to play. But at the same time, like, you've got to, when you get away from the rink and go home, you got to spend time with the family and dig into their lives. So it's a lot. It's a long answer. But,
No.
But just, being ready to, having a plan for development, being ready to execute it, and doing it to the best of your ability is what I take away from the last 2 years here.
And see, I knew there was going to be at least one thing in there that I just latched on to. But you talked about, the players individually.
Yep.
And, even what you were saying a minute ago about the way that, you would work with Val was different than the way you'd work with Devon. I'm curious of, a guy like Nate. Do you, as a coach, whether it be your skills coach, head coach, whatever, is there a hierarchy in your head of, like, hey, this guy's going to kind of do his own thing, and we know that that's all right because we know, he works, best doing the things that he likes to do, or, hey, we need to make sure that all these guys, how do you kind of compartmentalize that, or is it just getting to know those guys individually and understanding what's best?
Well, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
Let's say, sorry, I asked that really poorly.
No, it's okay. No, but if I'm understanding correctly, it's, kind of the individualized way you work with players and how you come about getting there. I think you get feedback from the player first and foremost. So if I know I'm going to have a guy for a couple of days as in a rehab skate, or if someone approaches me and says, I want to keep working, like Logan O'Connor was really great about coming to me and saying, here's some things I want to work on. I'd say, great. Nate one time did tell me, like, hey, we got as a team, we got to get better at, X, Y, and Z, or X and Y, whatever it was. So kind of nudging me, like, get to work on it. And I was like, yep, got it. It's on, we're on it.
Yeah.
So those things are really helpful when you're a coach, like trying to when you get feedback from players, it obviously makes my job easier because then, all right, I got a drill for everything. I can think of a few more that we could add to the mix and get these guys a lot of reps and puck touches in those situations. But for each player, I think feedback's important. And then just I'm up in the, I was up in the press box every game watching, and you can learn a lot, obviously, from just observations with the whole team, like the whole game. Like obviously you're watching the X's and O's, you're watching the systems. But if you see a guy really struggling on, long rims or breakouts, getting his feet moving, he's getting caught from behind, whatever it is, you start to make those mental notes, and then depending on the player that's coming to you to work, like obviously you put those things into practice. So those are the two big things: just observations from video and from the games, and then trying to get feedback from the players, knowing you're going to work with them. Say what do you want to get out of this? Let's not just go in blind and just shoot pucks for the sake of shooting pucks. Let's try to get something out of it for the next 20 or 30 minutes that we're going to be out here.
Because I imagine that there are a lot of people that watch, again, just coaching in general and think like, oh no, the coach comes up with the plan and then everyone has to listen to that. But I imagine there's a lot of two-way communication.
Absolutely, yeah, there is. It's not always. In the old days, there might have been more of a hammer. The coach comes down and says, here's what we're working on, and that's just it. Yeah. But now, like, you want players to understand the why. That's a big part of it. Players want to know why, like what's the point of this? Totally. So, the communication becomes incredibly important with players, like not just understanding what they want, but then when you have a drill you're doing, you want to tell them why, like what situation you might do that.
Why is this beneficial to you?
Yeah, like why is this, whatever it is, like getting the leg out in front, coming on the net, whatever it is, like simple stuff, but just kind of showing them or talking through like this is why we're working on it. So then they get in those situations and games, they're ready to rock.
Well, I think I understand why you're going to be a head coach this season, Toby. Like I told you off the top when you came in, selfishly, I'm bummed we're not going to see you around, but super happy for you and really looking forward to watching Texas and what you guys can do this year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome.